this video, we're going to talk about the number of solutions for a quadratic equation. So, how many solutions does the quadratic equation give me? So, from most of the questions we solved, we actually found that most quadratic equation we did gave us two answers. But this is not always the case, right? So if you have x squared, let's say, plus 6x plus 9, and you factorize this into x plus 3 multiplied by x plus 3, you're going to get your answer just to be x equal negative 3. So in this case, you only have one solution for this quadratic equation. So what determines the number of solutions of the quadratic equation? Well, we said that the core, the thing that solves all quadratic equation, is the quadratic formula. So it needs to be part of the quadratic formula. So let's have a look at it. The quadratic formula, as we discussed, it's negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So what is the term that would determine the number of solution? Well, it's definitely the term that follows the positive or negative, right? Because one time you add that value, one time you subtract it, so maybe this is the part where it controls the number of solutions. And particularly the term under the square root, which we call the discriminant, if you're interested to know its name. So let's have a look. What happens if the discriminant, or b squared minus 4ac, is greater than 0? So if b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, so let's say it's root 5, root 20, root 25, whatever. So you're going to get negative b plus root 5 over 2a. If it was, let's say, 5, it could be any positive number. And the other time, you're going to get negative b minus root 5 over 2a. So if whatever is under the root is positive, then if you add the square root of that, it's going to be very different than when you subtract the square root of that. So this means that here you're going to get two different answers, so you're going to get two solutions, right? But what if the b squared minus 4ac happens to be exactly equal to 0? So you're going to get something like this. If whatever is under the root is exactly equal to 0, you're going to get that it's negative b plus or minus root 0 over 2a. And negative b, one time it's positive, one time is minus root 0 over 2a. But the square root of 0 is just 0. So this part is insignificant. So you don't have a plus or a minus in the formula, you just have negative b over 2a, which is going to give you only one solution, right? Because you don't have a positive or negative, so this is only going to give you one solution. And finally, if your b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, so you're going to get something like this, negative b plus root negative 2 over 2a, and one time it's minus. But we know that real numbers we can't put a negative inside the square root, for real numbers at least. So we know that this is not a real number, so we get no real solution. If whatever is under the root is negative, then you get no real solutions, right? So let's take an example on this. Let's say if you have 3x squared minus 6x is equal to p, and he's saying that this has one solution. Find p. So if this equation has one solution, so then we just said that the only thing I'm sure of is that b squared minus 4ac must be equal to 0. But remember that in order for me to get the a, b, and c, the equation must be written as ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, right? So the first thing I do is that I bring the p inside to the left. So it's going to be minus p is equal to 0. So I need to see a 0 on one side and all the other terms on the other hand side. Now I can get the a, which is 3, the b, which is negative 6, and the c, which is anything that does not have an x into it, which is negative p as a whole. Okay? And then since it has one solution, since I know that it has one solution, then I know that the b squared minus 4ac must be exactly equal to 0. So I'm going to do just that. B squared minus 4ac, and I'll have to force this to be 0. So this is going to be 36. Negative times negative is positive. 4 times 3 is 12. And 12p is equal to 0. So 12p is going to be equal to negative 36. So p is going to be negative 3. So that's the value of p that will make this equation have one solution. So this is where the question ends, but let's validate what we just did. Let's put p to be negative 3 and see if this equation really has only one solution. So I'll start by bringing the 3 to the other hand side. I can divide the whole equation by 3 since all of the terms are divisible by 3. And I can simply factorize this. So if this is positive, then both have the same sign, and this is negative, then both are negative, and definitely the numbers that multiply to 1 is 1 and 1. So here again, as a validation, I got only one answer, which is that x is equal to 1. But this is the question is asking for the value of p that will make this has one solution. So your answer for that question is actually negative 3.